Dr. Nandipha Magudumana has shifted gears in her bid to reclaim her freedom and will be applying for bail in the Bloemfontein Magistrate's Court. This is after her failed attempt to declare her arrest and subsequent extradition declared unlawful. Let's get some reaction now, and we get legal analysis from Advocate Deon Pool, who joins us from Johannesburg. Advocate, good morning to you, and thank you for your time. The understanding is that the state is going to be opposing this bail application. Explain to us why it is that they would be opposing bail.
Under the circumstances, I would suspect that the doctor will be applying for bail in terms of Schedule 5, if not 6 of the Criminal Procedure Act. In those instances, the onus is on the doctor to prove that it would be in the best interests of the best interests of justice that she is released on bail. For that purpose, she has to lead evidence in order to convince the court on a balance of probabilities that she's entitled to this bail. And given the circumstances related to this whole affair, her involvement, alleged involvement in it, and the manner in which she has been brought to court, there is no doubt that the state would not simply just let the matter stand, but will oppose the bail in this particular, as far as she is concerned, definitely.
Yeah. As we mentioned in the introduction, Advocate Pool, previously she has sought to, or she is elected not to apply for bail, and that was because she was hedging her bets, trying to see if she could declare her arrest in Arusha unlawful, given that she says she was extradited as opposed to being deported, but the court found against her. Now she is applying for bail. Do you think that it is safe for us to assume that she is abandoning the whole application around extradition versus deportation?
The decision of Judge Loubser at that point in time, you will recall, was they applied for leave to appeal. The appeal in that instance was dismissed. Judge Loubser dismissed their application, and I am not sure whether they then petitioned the SCA in respect thereof. However, the fact that there may be an appeal pending in respect of how she was renditioned to South Africa by the Tanzanian government, or the South African government for that matter, is of no real consequence in respect of the bail application that she is launching today. The one technically has got nothing to do with the other, because even if the petition to the SCA is successful, that will still take a period of time for that to be resolved. In the meantime, this matter has to continue, and I'm sure that the doctor would not want to be sitting incarcerated if she has an opportunity to bring a bail application.
Yeah. Over the last few days, she has claimed through her lawyers that she is suffering physically, emotionally, financially, including sexual abuse at the hands of what she says are powerful men. And she goes on to say that these people who are unnamed at this stage, she may give more information about her alleged suffering. Is this purely for her seeking attention, or might we have to hear from her to understand and perhaps draw conclusions as to whether or not her claims are authentic?
Well, there's a gentleman who's remarked in the press, Mr. Kulu, who's remarked that it's been done purely for the sake of creating atmosphere. To the extent that it is relevant for purposes of this bail application, she will of necessity have to avail herself of giving specifics so that the state is able to verify this and also deal with it as far as it may be relevant in her bail application. She's not particularly, as far as conditions in prison are concerned, she's not particularly raising anything that has not been raised before, and the courts are very mindful of that. Our constitution and the law that follows from it takes the view that a court has to be mindful that it has to lean in favor of the liberty of an accused and not the other way around. It is just that when it comes to Schedule 5 offences, the conditions in prison are but one factor that the court will take into consideration amongst the various other factors that are prescribed in the section that deals with bail applications.
Final question to you, Advocate, and it again centres around her attempts to get bail. As we've mentioned earlier, the state is going to be opposing this bail application. The wonder here is whether the state in mind, they have or they might use the fact that she was arrested outside of the borders of South Africa, and that in itself, might that be a clear demonstration that she is a flight risk?
At this point in time, from my point of view, and given that I am only, the information that I have is limited to what is of necessity in the press, the Act prescribes that you have to convince the court of a few aspects. The main one is that you will return to court and stand your trial. That goes to the fact that whether you are a flight risk or not. There are a few hurdles that she will need to cover to the satisfaction of this application. The first one will be is that this crime was concealed to a very large extent for about a period of a year. The fact that she has been able to be very mobile across borders. There was an instance where they were assisted by a Mozambican gentleman who was helping them cross the borders. And then the fact that in Tanzania, when it appears when they got wind of the police, there was a further attempt to try and evade arrest. All of those aspects are going to be front and center in this bail application, given the fact that she is obviously going to be considered a flight risk. But in order to determine that for bail application purposes, the court has to make a finding of fact premised on her access to other countries, her access to resources, passports, and all of those aspects will need to be taken into consideration.
Advocate Deon Pool, let me thank you very much for your analysis of this impending bail application from the arrested Dr. Nandipha Magudumana. Advocate Deon Pool is a legal expert. Thanks indeed for your time.